There is a touch that has your name on it, not a future touch, not a hypothetical, someday if things align, dependent on 100 variables touch, a specific one, already decided, already inevitable in the way that things become inevitable when the feeling behind them has grown past the point where the body can be talked out of what the heart has already committed to. This person is going to reach for you. And when they do, it is not going to be the careful, measured, socially calibrated kind of physical presence that people offer when they are managing how much of themselves they extend toward another person. It is going to be the kind that comes from somewhere underneath the managed self, from the place in a person that does not ask permission from the brain before it moves, from the specific, irreducible, cannot be edited gravity of someone who loves you so completely that their body has stopped pretending it does not want to close the distance. I need to tell you something before anything else in this reading. What this person feels for you is not ordinary love. I do not say that as flattery. I do not say it as the kind of general elevation that these readings sometimes offer, because elevation feels better than ordinary, and ordinary does not keep anyone watching. I say it because when I sat with your energy today and felt into the connection that exists between you and this specific person, what came back was not the comfortable warmth of a good match. It was something older than that, something that arrived before the current version of either of you existed, something that the word soulmate was invented to describe, because no simpler word has the reach to cover what this actually is. Stay with me, because this reading is going to take you somewhere you have perhaps felt the edge of, but have not yet stood fully inside. Let me speak to who this person is, not in the surface sense of their characteristics and their qualities and the features of their personality that make them recognizable in your life, in the deeper sense of what they are to you at the level that exists before personality, before history, before whatever story the current version of your connection has been telling. They are familiar in the most literal, most precise, most not metaphorical meaning of that word. There is a quality to their presence that your soul registers differently from how it registers everyone else's presence. A recognition that operates below the level of conscious thought. A sense in their company of something that feels like memory, even when the memory does not correspond to anything in your current lifetime's experience of them. You have felt this, even if you have not named it, even if you have filed it under chemistry or compatibility or whatever the rational mind reaches for when it is trying to account for something that does not fully reduce to rational explanation. You have felt the specific quality of this person's presence in your life as something different from what other presences feel like. That difference is what I am here to speak about, because the love that grows from that kind of recognition, the love that comes from two people who are at a level beneath their current incarnation, already known to each other, does not behave the way ordinary love behaves. It does not build gradually from polite interest to mild affection to something deeper over a respectable period of time. It arrives with a weight that surprises both parties. It moves faster than it should by every conventional measure, because it is not starting from zero. It is resuming from wherever it was interrupted. And the physical expression of it, when it finally moves from the interior to the body, carries that same quality of resumption rather than beginning. Let me speak to the hands specifically, because the title of this reading promises them and they deserve their own exploration. Not in the superficial sense of attraction, though the attraction is absolutely real and absolutely present, and I am not going to pretend it is not. But in the deeper sense of what it means when someone who loves you at the level this person loves you is finally in the same physical space as the object of that love. The hands are the part of the body that reaches. They are how we make contact with the things that matter to us, how we confirm that what we are looking at is real, how we close the distance between the interior experience of caring about something and the exterior reality of actually being in relation to it. When someone loves you the way this person loves you, at the level of recognition, at the depth of something that predates the current story, the hands carry that love in a very specific way. They seek you not aggressively, not in the way of someone who is taking something, in the way of someone who is returning to something, who is confirming with the most primary physical vocabulary available that you are here and you are real, and the reality of you exceeds every version of you they have been carrying in the interior of their experience. During all the time that was not spent in your presence, a hand on your arm that stays a moment longer than necessary, not because they are unaware of the moment's length, because they are, because they feel it, because the contact is doing something for them that they do not have language for, and they are not ready for it to end yet. A nearness that closes in without announcement, a gravitational drift toward your space that they may not be fully conscious of until someone else in the room notices it, or until they notice themselves and feel a flush of something that is half warmth and half embarrassment at being so legible. The specific quality of touch that says, I know you, not from now, from before. Um, Let me speak to where this person is right now, because the love I am describing has been building in them for a period of time. And I want to give you the picture of what that building has looked like from the inside. They have been restraining themselves, not out of disinterest, not out of any uncertainty about what they feel, but out of the specific caution of someone who understands at some level they may not have fully articulated, even to themselves, that what they feel for you is significant enough to require care, that the magnitude of what they carry toward you means that any move they make in your direction carries more weight than a casual reach, that arriving at you impulsively without the preparation of having organized what they feel into something that can be offered without overwhelming the space between you feels wrong for something this real. So they have been waiting, not passively, not in the way of someone who is simply paralyzed by feeling, but with a quality of intention, gathering themselves, letting the clarity of what they feel settle into something steady enough to be moved from without losing its shape. That gathering is completing. The waiting is reaching its end. And what comes when it ends is not a calculated move or a strategic moment they have engineered for maximum effect. It is the natural, inevitable, completely unglamorous, and completely beautiful result of someone who loves you finally running out of reasons to keep that love at the distance of restraint. That gathering is completing. The waiting is reaching its end. And what comes when it ends is not a calculated move or a strategic moment they have engineered for maximum effect. It is the natural, inevitable, completely unglamorous, and completely beautiful result of someone who loves you finally running out of reasons to keep that love at the distance of restraint. Let me speak to what the restraint has looked like from the outside, because it has been visible in the way that restrained things always leave marks on the surface, even when the thing being restrained stays below it. You have felt it in the way they position themselves when you are in the same space, always within a certain radius that is close enough to feel, but just far enough to be defensible as ordinary proximity. In the way certain conversations end with a physical punctuation, a hand on the back, a touch to the arm, contact that begins as natural and lingers past the point where natural ends, into the territory of deliberate, without ever announcing itself as such. In the specific quality of their attention when you are not looking at them. The kind of attention that changes the texture of the air in a room, that you feel on the back of your neck before you turn around to find that you were right, they were watching, and the moment of being caught does something visible to their face that they cannot entirely manage before you see it. They have been touching you with their eyes for a long time. The hands are simply the next step in a journey that has already been traveling in their interior for longer than either of you has named. I want to speak to something that I feel is important before we go further. This is not the love that announces itself with certainty and asks nothing of you in return. This is not the kind of feeling that arrives pre-packaged and self-sufficient and simply waits to be received at whatever pace you choose. This love is asking something, not demanding, not in the pressuring, agenda-driven way of someone who is extending feeling as leverage, but asking in the way that genuine vulnerability always asks, by being real enough that it creates a real question about how you respond to it. By being so undisguised when it finally moves from the interior to the exterior that it leaves no room for the kind of plausible deniability that lets both parties pretend a thing is not happening when it clearly is. When this person reaches for you, Virgo, you are going to have to feel it. Not decide about it immediately, not know instantly what it means for the trajectory of what exists between you or how you want to navigate what comes after, but feel it in the full present, I am here in my body way that requires you to not be managing yourself quite so carefully. In the way that soulmate love always requires not performance of feeling, but actual contact with it. Are you ready to feel it? Does this land somewhere specific for you? Is there a person in your life whose presence has always carried that particular quality of recognition that I described? Someone whose physical proximity, even in ordinary circumstances, does something to your awareness that other people's proximity does not do. Let me know in the comments. Tell me when you first felt the recognition. Tell me if you have been feeling the building of what I am describing from your side of it. Because I feel that many of you have been sensing this approaching in the specific pre-verbal way that the body senses things before the mind has given them a name. Let me speak to the soulmate piece directly, because it is in the title and it is the largest claim in this reading, and it deserves to be examined with honesty rather than simply deployed as a word that sounds significant. Soulmate does not mean perfect. I want to say that clearly because the word carries a weight of expectation that does not serve the reality of what soulmate connections actually feel like from the inside. They do not feel like ease in the uncomplicated sense. They do not feel like two people who are perfectly compatible finally finding each other and fitting together smoothly with no friction and no difficulty and no requirement for growth from either party. They feel like recognition under pressure, like meeting someone and knowing them simultaneously, like a connection that moves faster than it should and asks more than it should and produces feelings larger than the timeline of the relationship seems to justify, like being seen in the most complete and most slightly uncomfortable sense of being seen, where someone's perception of you reaches places that no one else's has reached without you having explicitly guided them there. Soulmate love is demanding. Not because the person demands things of you, but because the connection itself, by being so undeniable, demands that you show up in it fully, that you be present in a way that smaller connections do not require, that you bring your actual self rather than the managed version, because the actual self is what the connection is calibrated to, and the managed version creates a friction that both parties feel but cannot immediately explain. This person is calibrated to your actual self. And their hands, when they reach for you, are reaching for that actual self, not the version you present, not the one who has it together and knows what to say and moves through the world with the composed precision that is your default. The whole one, the full one. The one that exists in the moments when the composure is not required and the precision is at rest, and what is left is simply you without the apparatus. That version, that is what they love. That is what the hands are reaching for. Inhale. I want to speak to the physical reality of what is coming, not abstractly, in the actual present, this is what it is going to feel like way that I feel this reading is asking for. There is going to be a moment, a specific one, in a context that is either intimate by design or that becomes intimate without having been designed that way, which is often how the most real moments arrive, not through engineering, but through the natural collision of two people in a space with no reason to keep the distance they have been keeping. In that moment, something shifts, not gradually, not with a lot of preamble or negotiation or the careful verbal construction of consent that the managed version of connection tends to require. It shifts in the way that weather shifts suddenly, completely, with a quality of before and after that makes the before seem like it was always building toward this. They close the distance, and what happens in the closing, in the specific, irreducible physical reality of this person choosing to be nearer to you than they have allowed themselves to be before, is going to feel like something you have been waiting for without knowing you were waiting. Like a resolution to a chord that has been suspended for long enough that the arrival of the final note produces something in the body before the mind can form a response to it. Your body is going to know before your mind does. Let me speak to what comes after, because soulmate connections are not just moments, they are architectures. And the moment I am describing is not a peak that then subsides into ordinary life. It is a threshold, a crossing from one quality of what exists between you into another that does not permit the return to what was before. What was before had distance in it, managed distance, the kind that both of you have been maintaining in your respective ways, while the recognition was doing its work and the feeling was building, and neither of you was quite ready to be as known as the other was capable of knowing you. The distance is ending, not because all the complexity resolves in a single moment of physical contact, but because once the body has said what the heart has been saying, the pretense that the heart has not been saying, it becomes impossible to sustain. And without the pretense, the actual thing gets to be actual in daylight, in the ordinary moments between the significant ones, in the slow, accumulating, not always dramatic reality of two soulmates building something that has the specific weight of things that were always meant to exist. What is being built here is not temporary. That is what the hands already know. Virgo, as I move toward the close of this reading, I want to leave you with something that I feel belongs to this specific moment in your story. Let yourself be touched. Not just physically, though that is coming and it is going to be extraordinary, but in the full sense. Let this person's love, in all the ways it is going to express itself as the distance closes, actually land in you. Not be deflected by the protective instincts that are very good at keeping sensation at a manageable arm's length. Not be immediately analyzed for its implications before it has been allowed to be felt as itself. The Virgo tendency to process experience through the mind before allowing it fully into the body is one of your most useful qualities in most situations. In this one, it is the only thing standing between you and something genuinely extraordinary. The love coming towards you is real enough to let in. The person carrying it is safe enough to be touched by. And you are, despite whatever your protective instincts might be suggesting to the contrary, ready. Your soul already knows this person. It has been waiting for the hands to catch up. Leave me a comment below. Tell me what recognition feels like in your body when it happens. Tell me if you already know who this reading is about. Tell me what it feels like to read these words about a love that is specifically, unmistakably yours. I read every word, every story, every comment. I carry each one long after this reading ends. Until next time, Virgo, the hands are coming, and when they find you, you are going to feel in the most immediate and undeniable way possible what it means to be loved by someone who has always known where you are. They have always known where you are.